Anaheim Ducks hockey is brought to you by Honda, official vehicle of the NHL and Anaheim Ducks. And by Toshiba, leading innovation.
It's a crazy town full of neon dreams. Everybody plays, everybody sings. Hollywood with a touch of twang. To be a star, you gotta bang, bang, bang. Bend those strings till the Hank comes out. Make all the drunk girls scream and shout. We love it, we hate it, we're all just trying to make it in this crazy town.
2 seasons ago, the Predators swept the season series from the Ducks. Last year, Anaheim took all 3 meetings. This is the first of the year between Nashville and the Ducks. In time for tonight's Keys to the Game, brought to you by your helpful SoCal Honda dealers. With those, we go to Lisa Hillary.
John, thanks very much. Bob, whose job is it not to let Shea Weber's shot be a factor tonight?
Well, we talked about it before the game. You have to, again, make sure you're aware of where he is on the ice and just try to, make him pay the price as much as you can. Get it, dump it into his corner, finish his checks, and just take his ice away.
Thanks, Bob. Good luck.
Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Lisa. The referees for tonight's game are Francis Chiron and Steve Kazari. The linesmen are Matt McPherson and Andy McElman. And there's Frederik Andersen, his first start in 11 days, as he appears for the 12th time this season between the pipes for Anaheim, 9-2.
Joe, what do you think's going through his mind? He's been watching the last few games where Jonas Hiller has kept his team alive in the opening 20 minutes. And it's got to be in the back of his mind right now. I better be ready right off the drop of the puck because his club's been struggling a little bit in the opening 20 minutes.
First of 2 straight away from Honda Center for the Ducks as they'll be in Phoenix on Saturday night. Here's Shea Weber, and his wrist shot gloved off by Andersen. He's in the hockey game, and he holds for a face-off just 16 seconds into it.
Well, if you want a shot from Shea Weber, you want a little snap wrist shot like this one. You don't want to see him winding up for the big bomb from the blue line. So a nice softie to get Frederik Andersen a little bit more comfortable.
His last appearance on the 29th of December, a 20-save performance in a 3-1 loss at San Jose. So happy New Year for the native of Denmark as he appears for the first time in the 2014 campaign. He looks at the face-off to his left as Koivu is sent packing from the circle.
Encroachment by Daniel Winnick. He jumped a little bit early, so Koivu gets booted. Winnick comes right back in and wins the draw.
2 games ago when Winnick played center, he won 6 of 8 draws in that game. He steps in and wins that one.
And you know what, John? That's a great point because he's really improved in that area. Remember, they tried him a lot there early in the season and in the preseason, and he really struggled in the face-off circle, but he's been diligent. He's worked on it most days at the end of practice, and practice has paid off.
Matthias Ekholm fails to clear in the Nashville zone as Fowler held it in and around the boards. Lovejoy activates to keep it alive. Win it quickly to Cogliano right on the doorstep. And Koivu hit the side of the net. He's got it again from Cogliano in front for Andrew, and that one went off his skate. It just lays between the circles and is finally swatted into the Nashville bench by Craig Smith.
Well, this is exactly what Bruce Boudreau wants to play against the Predators. You look at the numbers, and Nashville has not played very well in 5-on-5 hockey. They're minus 24 in 5-on-5. The Ducks are plus 34. A team is not minus 25 unless they struggle at times and lose their checks in the defensive zone. So cycle the puck down low, just like the Koivu line just did, and you figure you will get some opportunities.
A little surprised that wasn't icing as Sammy Vatanen bumped off the puck down low. Nashville player Gaustad came in, looked like he stepped on the puck. Bonino lost his stick for a moment, picks it back up, and now Gaustad moves it back for Ryan Ellis at the point. Shovels it on top of the dasher and in behind the Anaheim goal once again. Ducks expecting a physical hockey game here tonight. This is a Nashville team that likes to get in on the forecheck and play the body as Stahlberg keeps the cycle going with Gaustad. This is the 4th line for Barry Trotz's team, and Ryan Ellis with a one-time bid that rattles the glass. Up the wall, Paul Mary couldn't clear as it was held in on the near side by Klein. Behind the net, Bork tries to center and Gaustad scores.
Well, Gabriel Bork reinserted into the lineup. He had been struggling as of late, but this is a great pass to Paul Gaustad. Here's the cycle play. Flipped in behind by Gaustad, and he rolls off the check of Nick Bonino. It's a little give and go. He sheds Bonino, gets a stick on the ice. But watch the zip on the pass here by Gabriel Bourque. I mean, he drills that pass. It's perfect for Gaustad. He threads the needle, and he finds the back of the net, and a good start for Nashville.
And off the face-off, here we go. Patrick Maroon drops the gloves on the near side with Rich Clune. The two respective penalty minute leaders for their teams. And again, you see Maroon getting that left arm extended with the short left so that he can load the big right, as was the case when he fought Adam McQuaid last game against Boston. And now he delivers a couple of rights as Clune is in trouble, and the linesman will intervene.
And Maroon able to get him off balance towards the end of that little tilt. And this discussion still goes on between the two combatants. Patrick Maroon looking at his hand, however. He's always concerned about that. I'm a little bit surprised that Rich Clune would fight. Why would you drop the gloves when your team has just taken a 1-0 lead?
And less than 2 minutes into the game, and Clune obviously just discussing it with Maroon right off the face-off. And Maroon looks like he's going to put a little ice on that hand as they each sit for 5.
He popped him a couple of times initially right on the back of the helmet, and those hands of the players that drop their gloves frequently, they take a beating.
Anderson wanders out to play it, and Craig Smith in the corner fed it right back through the blue paint. Solani on it, and away he comes to center. 3-on-2 is Cogliano and Perreault join him. And the return pass intended for Solani broken up, and the trailer coming in getting a shot away was Lindholm, but it was blocked. Back come the Predators. Cullen feeds it over, and Smith scores.
It's a block shot in the offensive zone. Lindholm takes the shot. The Predators block it, and away they go on the 2-on-1. Here's the shot block right here. And now the Predators jump into the attack. And what a pass by Matt Cullen. And Boschman was trying to get close to defend Craig Smith, but he could not prevent the puck from getting through. What a pass. Cullen to Smith, and it's 2-0 Nashville.
Yeah, 2 goals in the first 2.5 minutes, and the Predators have the start they wanted. Anaheim now down 2-0 as Nystrom up the far boards is able to work it out of his own zone. Wilson goes after it, but it's Fowler who comes back to get it. No Patrick Hornquist tonight for the Predators. Boy, they call icing here. This is one of the missed icing calls, I think. We've seen a few of them this season. That puck was there for Corey Perry, and Bruce Boudreau can't believe it.
Well, Barry Trotz will be pleased with the start, obviously, for his club. He was saying the other day, he honestly believes, even though his team's at 500, that his team is playing better right now than they have played maybe in the last 10 years. They haven't got the goaltending, John. That's the one big difference about this Nashville team. They play the same disciplined style. They punish you. They haven't got the big saves from their goaltender because Pecorine is not around.
I was rather taken by that statement by Trotz, but he's a coach who has consistently gotten a lot out of his players over the years here. Tonight is 1159th game behind the Nashville bench, the only coach in the history of this franchise. So if anyone would know, it's Barry Trotz. Here's Jackman, and his shot is blocked as he can't get it through. Weber got in the way. Weber top 10 in the league in blocked shots coming into tonight's action, hence the statement by Trotz that despite his minus 12, he might be having the best season of his career. He's one of the leading scoring defensemen in the league as well, as he always is year in, year out. Gabriel Bourque puts it on the glass and out. Fistrick sends it right back in. Mazanets touching the puck for the first time in this hockey game as he plays it away. First-year netminder out of the Czech Republic, playing in his 21st game this season. Backed up by Carter Hutton as the goaltending situation in Nashville featuring 2 players we've never seen before in Predators uniforms. And there's Mazanets with his first save of the game. as he kicks away the bid off the wing. Perry gets it back to the net, and a centering pass off a skate as Bolesky on his knees very nearly got the puck over to Perry. Lindholm steps up to keep the puck in and bounces it to the corner. A rolling puck that Perry brings with him behind the net. Tries to hook it in front. A penalty coming up here. I think it's Roman Josi who's going to get the gate. He got a little hook, it looked like. No, excuse me, it's Bork.
A little bit of a mismatch with Corey Perry getting the puck in behind the net, and you can see that Bork's already got one hand off the stick, and he grabs onto Corey Perry. That will cost him a couple of minutes. We've talked about the Ducks and their ability to come back in games when their opponent scores the first goal. 13-5-1, remarkable record for them. But I'll tell you what, the Predators, 16-1-4 when they get the opening goal. So one of those trends is going to be broken at the conclusion of this one tonight.
Nashville 14-0-1 when leading after the first period as well. So this is a big power play for the Ducks, down 2-0 early on. They have converted on each of their last 4 power play chances, going back to the end of the Boston game, or I should say to the end of the Vancouver game on Sunday, as Vatanen and Lindholm start on the power play for the Ducks. Solani is with Perreault and Palmieri up front, and here's Perreault. Stick handles behind the net, works it back to the line for Sami Vatanen. Lindholm takes it off the skate, returns it, middle of the ice as they set up the umbrella. Vatanen finds Solani. Those two will play together on the Finnish Olympic team next month. Vatanen's shot blocked and cleared back as Hendricks got in the way of that. Nashville trying to change. Vatanen quickly ahead to Solani, and Klein pokes it off his stick back outside the stripe.
I thought that first power play sequence for the Ducks, Anaheim passed up opportunities to get that puck down into the crease area. What has been working for them as of late is really simplifying the power play. If the shot is there, take the shot.
Under a minute to go in the man advantage as Bonino has it knifed off his stick by Seth Jones, the rookie. He then gets a piece of the Perry bid as he follows up into the Nashville zone. The open man is Getzlaf. Works it down low and a point-blank save on Bonino by Mazanec. And the Predators recover and ice the puck.
That's our first look at Marek Mazanec. He's a big kid, 6'4", and he gets down early. And I think a lot of this style of goaltender, you shoot it into his pads, create rebounds.
Mazanec was the NHL Rookie of the Month in November after his recall early in the month from Milwaukee of the American League. Spent parts of 4 seasons in the Czech Elite League. Just 22 years of age. It's almost redundant to talk about big Nashville goaltenders. You said 6'4". He's still one of the smallest guys we've seen in here in quite some time, Brian.
You're right. You're right about that. It's definitely something, obviously, that is a requirement when they go and sign or draft a goaltender down.
They called up Magnus Hellberg from Milwaukee of the American League recently. He's 6'5" as well. Definite characteristic of the organization's netminders. The penalty is over to Bork, and the Predators full strength as Craig Smith pounces on a loose puck and lays it back in the neutral zone. Cullen got around Fistrick, and then he got muscled off the puck as he got to the front of the net. Boschman was there to bump him, held in at the line, and Francois blocks the long wrist shot, and Anaheim clears the zone. Ellis has it knocked away, and Perreault reaching for it into the Nashville zone on his own. Waits for the Ducks to finish changes. Laid off the bench, it's Fowler, and it's just poked away from him. Lovejoy retreats to center and whips it back in. Predators work it around, and Smith has it into the middle. This is Mike Fisher. 10 points in the last 6 games for the former Ottawa Senator as he pursues on the forecheck. Ducks reverse it away twice, and now Perreault goes rink wide for Palmieri, who can't field it off the boards. And the Predators will be whistled for icing.
The Ducks had one good scoring chance on that power play. It belongs to Nick Bonino. And you saw that Ryan Getzlaf got the head up, slipped it down low, but very difficult to beat this goaltender, Mazanec, along the ice because of the style that he plays. Matt Cullen almost able to get around Mark Fistrick. Fistrick may have got away with a little bit of a grab there.
Ducks fans very familiar with Matt Cullen, who played his first 400-plus NHL games in a Mighty Ducks sweater. signed a 2-year free agent deal in the offseason here in Nashville, coming over from the Minnesota Wild. Just over 8 minutes in at Bridgestone Arena, 2-0 Nashville. A couple of quick Predator goals, and the Ducks on their heels in the opening period again. Bolesky's bid is off the stick of Weber and out of play. We will step aside. A fast start for the Preds in Nashville. Time for Who Got It Done, brought to you by YP.com, the new way to do. And one thing we know is the Ducks have the wherewithal to come back in this hockey game.
They have been just an explosive offensive team this year, and they've scored at least 4 goals in each of their last 4 games, averaging the 3rd most goals per game of any team in the league. And their current rate scoring goals is higher than what is currently the franchise record. So yes, goal scoring does cure all ills, and it's going to have to cure a few ills in this game, John. It's another slow start by the Ducks.
Bonino rolls it in, and Ryan Ellis, the high-scoring defenseman and junior, can't clear it past Bonino. He finds the open man, Pfister, and his shot tipped wide. Lindholm plays it down low. Bonino leaves it there for Maroon. Out high, this is Francois Beauchemin. He and Lindholm play catch, and a one-timer by Beauchemin ends up in behind the net off a deflection. Trying to force it in front is Maroon. It comes back to him, and now he chases to the corner. Ellis gets it ahead, and Bork tips it out of the zone. A fluttering puck, and Lindholm has pressure from Victor Stahlberg.
Stahlberg was on Hampus Lindholm in a hurry, and that puck just wouldn't settle down for Hampus. He did a good job of protecting it with his body, not allowing Stahlberg to get a touch on it.
Winnick bumped in the neutral zone, and then he banks it all the way back. Icing is the call. It was Seth Jones, the impressive 19-year-old, who got the hit on Winnick there. Well, this season, when the Ducks do get the offense rolling and score 5 goals or more, Hooters gives you free wings. You can print the coupon and head to Hooters, your destination, for free wings in Southern California.
Nashville always a pretty good face-off team as well. Koivu wins this draw cleanly, but Paul Gaustad in particular, John, in games head-to-head against Anaheim, has just been a dominant centerman in the face-off circle.
They are the #1 face-off team in the National Hockey League, and the Ducks did a wonderful job 2 nights ago at home against Boston in the face-off circle. The Bruins, one of the top face-off teams in the league as well. Good stick there from Sami Vatanen as he broke up the centering pass. Now he works from behind his own goal, and Koivu trying to send it ahead, and it turns into a rocket of a souvenir over the glass and into the crowd here at Bridgestone.
Here's our first good look at the youngster Seth Jones. You mentioned, John, 19 years old, 4th overall pick in the 2013 draft. His father, Popeye Jones, played 11 seasons in the NBA. Played for Dallas, Toronto, Boston, Denver, Washington, and Golden State. So the Jones family moved around a little bit. He's a good-looking young player, and Barry Trotz said about him earlier today, he's 6'5" tall, but he skates like a kid who's 5'9" tall. That means he's fast.
And he spent 1 year with the Portland Winterhawks in the Western League. Started the season playing with Shea Weber. They're both right-hand shots, so they moved the youngster to his offside. He was playing an awful lot more than he is now, and one of the adjustments the Nashville coaching staff made with him was moving him back to his natural right side and cutting his minutes a little bit. Since then, they think he's really found a comfort zone. Hails from the hockey hotbed of Arlington, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. Now it's Corey Perry for the Ducks. As we pass the halfway mark of the opening period, 2-0 Nashville. Quick puck movement for Kevin Klein, who now sets up behind the Nashville net. Bork trying to move it up the boards, but he couldn't get it through Solani. The two of them do battle for the puck, and over comes Beauchemin. He knocks it away. Solani loses an edge, but keeps the puck alive. Palmieri takes it off his shin guard, and joining the play, it's Beauchemin, and he'll send it in. Ryan Ellis, one of only 3 defensemen in OHL history to score over 300 points at the junior level in that league. Can't get it out. Now he knocks it down as he goes to his knees to get his glove on it.
A teammate of Cam Fowler's with the Windsor Spitfires. They had a little bit of mobility back on that blue line.
Ellis is There's a guy Barry Trotz thinks an awful lot of. He says the bigger the challenge, he rises to it. He said this young man may not be the biggest defenseman in the league, but he's afraid of absolutely nothing. I guess my question for that old Windsor team would be, who wore number 4, Hazy? Because you got Fowler, Taylor Hall, and Ellis, who all played on that team at one time or another, and they all wear Bobby Orr's number at the NHL level. Bonino whips one on net, and a glove saved by Mazanec. They give us a moment to catch our breath. 2-0 in Nashville.
Well, the Ducks beat the Predators all 3 times last season. Prior to that, Nashville had won 6 straight against Anaheim. And the one thing when we were talking about this series with Bruce Boudreau this morning, he said every game is a 1-goal game. It seems like there's never a blowout one way or the other.
Well, that's a characteristic of Nashville Predators hockey as well. Never a franchise that has had that breakaway, breakout, dynamic offensive player. Remember, they used to have Dan Hamhuis here as well. They've always built this team around defense, and not just defensemen. They play a strong defensive game. And the goaltending has been there over the last few years. Fistrick up ice, but he got a stick on that outlet pass, and the Ducks keep the Preds penned in. And finally, it's tipped out center ice. Matt Hendricks, who played for Bruce Boudreau in Washington, knocked down as he rolls it deep into the Anaheim zone. A very physical player. Hendricks led the Caps in penalty minutes each of the last 3 years. He came over as an unrestricted free agent in the offseason. Getzlaf jams it up the wall, and it's Maroon who pushes it deep into the Nashville zone. He'll pursue it there. He overruns Roman Josi, who will go to the Olympics and represent Switzerland as he wins the puck battle and gets it out of the Nashville zone.
Josi paired a lot with Shea Weber, so he plays a ton as well.
He's top 10 in the league in minutes played, as is Weber, as Fisher's long shot is gloved off by Frederik Andersen. A reminder, coming up later on in our broadcast, join us for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite, as we look back at one of the key moments in tonight's hockey game.
There's still only 4 shots. That was the 4th Predator shot on goal. So taking a page out of the Ducks' opportunistic book that they put on display against the Bruins last game. It only took them 20 shots to get 5 past Tuukka Rask.
Those 20 shots were a season low for Anaheim, yet they were only 1 goal shy of equaling their season high in scoring. Matthias Ekholm, the rookie, was bumped hard behind the net by Cogliano, and the puck comes back around to the near side. Smith, who has one of the 2 Nashville goals, trying to jam it ahead. The former University of Wisconsin product gets help from David Legwand. And he moves it down low in the Anaheim zone. Fowler flushed from behind his own net, moves it ahead, and a quick cross-ice feed finds Lovejoy. Ben Lovejoy gets the blue line, feathers it deep, and heads back to the Anaheim bench for a change. Lovejoy plus 11 in his last 10 games coming into tonight. 7 points in that span as well. Clock winds to 6 minutes to go in the opening period here in Nashville. Palmieri in on the forecheck. And the puck comes back into the Nashville zone. The Predators forced to regroup. Pass ahead off the stick of Gabriel Bourque. Bourque gets back in the lineup. He was a healthy scratch here 2 nights ago in Nashville's 3-2 win against the San Jose Sharks. He's on a line right now with Victor Stahlberg and Gaustad. And they lose the puck in the Anaheim zone. It's Palmieri with a delayed penalty coming up to the Predators into the Nashville zone. To the bench, Anderson, and the Ducks get the 6th attacker out. Into the middle, it's Getzlaf, who came off the bench, and he fires it wide.
Oh, he had a good opportunity there, a little bit of a shooting lane, and I think Mazanec was screened.
Lindholm feeds it over. Boschema again finds the captain. Right through the middle, it went through Solani, and Lindholm has time to take it off the wall. Right back, Getzlaf looks up, head up all the way. Fires it off of Palmieri, recovered by Perreault. Again to the line, Boschema thinks better of the shot, gives it to Getzlaf. Hard pass, looking for Solani off an Asheville stick, but he gets it back. Boy, the Ducks looking sharp here with the extra man out in a 6-on-5. Getzlaf again, finds Lindholm, settles it, fires it off a leg. Solani gets it back. Teemu from behind the net. Again finds Getzlaf. Extended power play time for the Ducks here. Getzlaf thinks better of the shot. Hard pass to Solani, and he loses the puck. Kevin Klein finally touches up. Anaheim will have their second power play of the opening period when we come back.
Well, that is Victor Stahlberg. He's sitting in the penalty box. Here's the reason why. He had the puck in the offensive zone. He was under a little bit of pressure. And when he gave it up, watch as he follows through with the stick. He just rakes the face of Matthew Perreault. It's a 2-minute high-sticking penalty against Stahlberg. So good opportunity here off of a television timeout for the number one power play unit to go to work.
Getzlaf out with Perry and Bolesky, Bonino, and Fowler. And the Ducks win the draw. Getzlaf stops it at the line, gives it up, and Fowler drops back out to join him. Bonino in the corner looking for Perry. Can't get it to him. And then Perry jumps on it in the corner and picks it up, and a holding penalty on Nick Bonino. He's going to be whistled.
Yeah, they're going to say that he clamped down with his elbow the stick of the Nashville Predator defender. And that's why he's going to the box. A little subtle interference. Watch this. It's kind of a loose puck here, and watch what Nick Bonino does. Yeah, actually clamps down on the arm of the Predator defender, and that's going to cost him a couple of minutes. He was trying to buy a little time for Corey Perry to get to that loose puck, but he got caught.
Instead, he picks up his 6th minor penalty of the year, and it'll be 4-on-4 hockey for the next minute 43. And a face-off off the penalty call back in the Anaheim zone. Weber tees up the big one. Anderson made the save, couldn't corral the rebound. Fisher put it off the side of the net. Perry works down low with Lovejoy, and he gives it up to Getzlaf. Fowler ahead on the play, crisscrossing in the neutral zone with Perry. Getzlaf takes the feed and drags it up the boards into the Nashville zone. Yossi spun around there, and Lovejoy follows up. Quickly to Perry down low. He centers, and it goes through Lovejoy, who has to hustle back defensively as Fowler hinges over to get to it. Ahead to Perry, and he weaves his way back into the Anaheim zone. Serpentines his way into the Nashville end. And now drops it back for Koivu, fresh off the bench for Beauchemin.
Ducks, sorry, John, the Ducks having a tough time just getting that puck to settle down, it looks like. It's not staying flat for them very often in the offensive zone, and the Predators are doing a good job of pouncing whenever they bobble it.
It got over the stick of Smith there, enabling Anaheim to keep it in. Still half a minute left in the 4-on-4 situation as Smith goes down in the corner after it, but Koivu will beat him to it. Tried to sweep it up the wall, didn't get enough on it, and Smith has 7 goals in his last 11 games, including one here tonight. Stick handles into the Anaheim zone. Puck reversed up the near side, and Cogliano able to jab it out of harm's way to center. And there's the skating ability of Seth Jones on display right there. Picks up the puck, gets a little space away from Cogliano, and goes coast to coast into the Anaheim zone. Still with it. Now lays it back for Smith. And out of the box is Stahlberg, and an abbreviated Nashville power play. As Beauchemin tries to go up the middle, and Ellis kept it in and put it right on. A good left pad save by Anderson.
He's got pretty good hands, doesn't he?
Yeah. Spalling knocked down on the near wall, and Winnick reverses it back. Beauchemin up the boards, and Perry just redirects it out of the zone. Penalty over to Bonino, and the Ducks full strength. Back to 5-on-5 hockey with 2 minutes to go in the first. Nashville leads it 2-0 as Winnick from his knees keeps a puck alive behind the Nashville goal. Getzlaf to the line, and Sammy Vatanen misses with a one-timer. Fistrick steps up on the near side to keep it deep. Comes right back to him from Getzlaf. He rockets one off the stick of Mazonic and around to the far point. Good job by Vatanen to keep one in a second time as well. And now it's Getzlaf down low for Perry. Perry sneaks away from one defender and then reversed it, but missed Getzlaf with it. And it's Jones who puts it on the backhand and out center ice.
You know, the Ducks have had a number of sequences where they get great pressure with the Predators for the have done a good job, John, keeping him out to the outside. No real clean chances against Mazanas.
Here's Solani flying in, and he fires it wide as he tried to get the netminder to commit. It comes all the way around, and Colin Wilson sends it in.
Except for that one.
Yeah.
Teemu Solani with a burst of speed.
Perreault digs one out of the corner as Lovejoy got involved, and it's Fowler ahead on the play. A minute to go as Perreault drives the net. Big rebound for Solani, and just had it knocked away as Fisher got back on the back check.
Great defensive play by Mike Fisher. It was a race between Fisher and Solani to track down that rebound. The rebounds are there. I mean, that's got to be encouraging for the Ducks.
Palmieri whines, but has his shot blocked. The Predators have gotten in the way of a lot of shots here in the opening period. Stahlberg fires it in. Looking up, Lovejoy sees 30 seconds left in the opening period. Cam Fowler measures things, gets center red, but didn't get it deep as it's gloved down by Weber, who then missed his intended target, Bourque, in the middle of the ice. Break there for the Ducks, who were trying to get changes. Lindholm now side of his own goal. Hampus forced from behind the net, gave it to Cogliano. His pass to the corner. Winnick racing with Ekholm there. Swedish native Mattias Ekholm trying to keep it along the boards for the final seconds of the period, and he will.
Well, it's another slow start for Anaheim. Nashville scores on 2 of their first 3 shots. Teemu Solani moments ago streaks down the right side, one of the few clear-cut opportunities that the Ducks have, and then that rebound comes out, and Mike Fisher does a good job on the stick of Teemu Solani. So a familiar position for Anaheim, John, all too familiar, quite honestly, where the Ducks fall behind early and now try and ramp up their game and ramp up the pressure on this Predators defense.
Well, 2 nights ago against Boston, they had a slow start, but it was scoreless after 1. Tonight in Nashville, a slow start results in 2 Predator goals, 30 seconds apart in the early going, and they have a 2-0 lead after 1. Anaheim Ducks hockey is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Try the new Fajita Ranch Melt for only $3.99 plus tax at a participating Jack in the Box near you. Back at Bridgestone Arena, a 2-0 lead for the Predators over the Ducks after 20 minutes of play. John and Brian with you back in the broadcast booth. The script flipped a little bit on the Ducks here tonight, as was the case a couple of nights ago at home against Boston. Tonight, Anaheim attempts more than twice as many shots in the opening period as the Predators do, but they find themselves on the short end.
Well, they get a lot of shots blocked, and I think the rule of thumb, too, is that they passed up some shooting opportunities, and that's got to change. Here's the opening goal of the game. It's a classic give and go. Gostad gets it down low, barrels his way to the front of the net. He converts. It's 1-0 Nashville at that point. And then Hampus Lindholm is trying to get a shot through. He's been so good at getting pucks through this season. However, that one gets blocked. And away goes Matt Cullen off for the races, 2-on-1, and a pretty feed across to Craig Smith. And he makes this one count. Not much chance there for the goaltender, Frederik Andersen. Nick Bonino probably had the Ducks' best chance, and this tells you that Anaheim really didn't get a lot of good opportunities against the young goaltender. Teemu Solani breaks down the wing, and his shot goes a couple of feet wide. So the Ducks offensively were pretty much handled without much issue by the Preds.
For more, we go to the Anaheim bench and Lisa Hillary.
John, thank you. Brad, what adjustments need to be made to shift the momentum of this hockey game to your favor?
Well, we just got to start playing quick right now. We're kind of sitting back. They took the play to us, and we were standing around watching. We got to establish a forecheck, get in on there, and create some offense.
Thanks, Brad. John?
Thank you, Lisa. Set to begin the second period of play as the Ducks win the draw. Getzlaf beat Colin Wilson on the draw, and an outlet pass broken up as Beauchemin couldn't get it past the stick of Eric Nystrom. It squirts to the front of the Anaheim net, and Francois able to recover, and he taps it for the open man, Bolesky. Again, the Ducks forced to bring it out of their own zone as Perry now behind the net reverses it away from 2 Predator defenders. And he gets the outlet pass from the captain, Getzlaf. On right wing into the Nashville zone, pulls it in, and that shot blocked as Yossi got a piece of it. It goes in behind the net. Fisher reverses it. Bolesky gets to it first. Getzlaf quickly down low for Perry, who is run over by Yossi. Up the boards, Getzlaf keeps it alive. Bolesky knocks it down. Back for Getzlaf, and he scores all in one motion. A wonderful forecheck results in a Ducks goal.
And a great second effort by Matt Bolesky here, John, to keep a couple of loose pucks alive. Off of the cycle, it's Bolesky that slips it down to Getzlaf, and I tell you what, he just buries this puck short side against the young goaltender Mazanec. Here's the effort by Bolesky, puts pressure, grabs hold of the puck, just zips it down to Getzlaf, but Corey Perry took a beating down low behind the net just prior to that. And Shea Weber was not able to get across into the Getzlaf shooting lane, and that's something that, again, a quick play on net, an opportunity to put the puck there, and the Ducks do it, and they managed to get right back into this game. I mean, this is one thing about this team. When they get rolling, watch out.
21st of the season for Getzlaf, and here comes Palmieri with Cogliano into the Nashville zone. Cogliano shot, fat rebound, kicked out by Mazanec, and he was fortunate as his defense was there to cover up.
Yeah, Mazanec, that shows his inexperience. That's a bad rebound that he gives up.
Cogliano got it in front, and Palmieri denied. Wonderful pass on the backhand there from Palmieri, or to Palmieri, I should say, and he did a good job getting the shot away.
Yeah, they're playing quicker now. Watch Cogliano. He just rips this puck into an area, and Kyle Palmieri gets his stick down on the ice. The Predators not defending that play very well at all. That was the Swedish rookie Ekholm, who did not tie up the stick of Kyle Palmieri.
Well, and some early jump in the Ducks step here in the first minute of the second period. They get the proximity goal and very nearly get the equalizer in the second minute. Perreault swats it up the wall, and he pays the price as Gaustad, the much bigger man, got a good hit on him there. Vatanen reverses it away from pressure, and Winnick leaves it for Perreault, who turns back to the corner and then loses the puck. He gets it a second time and now turns up ice with it and finds a passing lane for Vatanen. His pass tipped in by Winnick, who will pursue it there. He gets inside on Ellis. Ellis ties up his stick. Winnick, from a prone position, stays with it and keeps it alive. Stahlberg, pestered by Perreault, brings it out of the Nashville zone and then has it taken away from behind. Mort gets it just inside the Anaheim stripe, and the Predators want to go for changes. Vatanen headman, Solani gets a piece, Maroon goes in after it, and Mazanec's there to play it away. Stepping up was Beauchemin, and he can't keep it in, and then he loses his footing. Lindholm back after it for the Ducks, and he loses his stick. Able to muscle it up the wall, however, and now Beauchemin gets back into the play, feeds it ahead. Jackman splits the D, goes backhand. Mazanec made the save.
Good play by the Ducks on the attack. The Predators had a player who had a skate issue, and he couldn't get to the bench to get off the ice.
That's Hendricks, who just slid out of the zone to enable the Predators to bring it the other way as Anderson covers up. And Jackman and Maroon talk about the opportunity that Tim Jackman had just a moment ago.
Well, a good play by the Ducks, who just kind of throw the puck into the middle of the Nashville Predators defense, and it bounces right to Tim Jackman, and away he goes. Again, you see the style of the goaltender Mazanec. I mean, he takes away the lower portion of the net, and he has what I call a very tight butterfly. His knees are pretty close together. You're not going to be able to get many pucks through him.
Jackman continuing to get opportunities, has 9 shots on goal in his last 2 games. When you consider the ice time he gets, that's fairly significant. He has a goal in the last 2 games as well. As Lovejoy turns in the neutral zone, Perry gets it across. Bolesky wastes no time, and Mazanec gets a piece of it, putting the puck out of play.
John, kind of a strange play moments ago. Matt Hendricks was bearing down on Hampus Lindholm, and something happens to his skate blade. And in fact, the blade comes right out of the holder. So he's got no skate blade. He's trying to get up. He's trying to get back to the bench, and he can't. As soon as he steps on the ice, he falls down. He can't make it back, and as a result, the Predators were shorthanded there for about a good 10-15 seconds.
Nick Spaulding for Nashville, trying to play it ahead, but broken up by Lovejoy, who lobs it back. Comes to him once more. Now he and Fowler play catch back in the Anaheim zone. Pass ahead for Palmieri, and he's able to pull it away after Legwan stepped up on it.
Should point out the adjustment here in the early going from Bruce Boudreau to get Kyle Palmieri out on the ice along with Cogliano and Koivu. So the role of Cogliano and Koivu changes now. Now they become more of a threat to score line than a line that's just going to try and shut down their opponent.
Big time speed line too, as Anderson punches one out of play off his blocker. Food and drinks now included in all Ducks rental suites this season at Honda Center. Space for 40 fans and the menu you'd prefer. Call 714-634-2582 or go to hondacenter.com/suites today.
Then we talked a lot about Bruce Boudreau's comments regarding if you think you can win a game, you can come back and win a game. And that's the thing that has been very consistent about the Ducks this season. And it doesn't matter if they fall behind. They think they're going to come back and win each and every night.
Nashville just 11-8-3 at home this season. In years past, they've been one of the better home teams in the National Hockey League. Bolesky bumps and the puck comes out. Weber plays it right back. Bolesky intercepts. Ducks have numbers as he drops it off for Getzlaf. Fires and he scores again!
Great play by Matt Bolesky again. I mean, it's all about the pressure. It starts with Shea Weber giving the puck right back to the Ducks right here. He flips it off the boards because of the pressure of Corey Perry. Matt Bolesky drops it, makes his way to the front of the net, and Getzlaf just has that ability to get shots through. I don't think that puck went through the defenseman, but Mazanets could not protect the short side. And once again, Anaheim comes all the way back.
Second of the night for Getzlaf. Bolesky has assisted on both, and he's really on a run. Starting to show some consistency offensively as Gaustad busts in, and it's a pad save by Anderson. Matt Bolesky now has 7 points in the last 5 games. As Solani comes in and gets a shot away. And now the Ducks with the pressure on. So early here in the second, they've tied it up in a point shot that never made it to Mazanets. Off the stick of Fistrick, and Fistrick has to try to recover. Around him goes Stahlberg. And into the net goes Fistrick. I don't think the puck ever went into the net. The net was off.
A couple of open chances for the Predators here after the Ducks had tied this game up. Victor Stahlberg gets around Francois Beauchemin, does a good job protecting the puck. Anderson makes a great save with the right leg before the momentum of Fistrick knocks the net off its moorings. A big stop by Freddie Anderson there with the right leg on Stahlberg.
Stahlberg, a one-time 20-goal scorer with the Chicago Blackhawks, came over as a free agent in the offseason and has not regained that goal-scoring touch that he had as a member of the Stanley Cup winning Blackhawks. Just 5 goals in his first 38 games in a Predator sweater. Nashville 25th in the league in offense. They've never been a team that blows the doors off of it from an offensive standpoint. But they have been a little challenged at times this season. Smith scores! The initial shot saved by Anderson, and I think it ricocheted in off of Rich Clune.
Well, this is a little bit of smash mouth hockey by the Predators. Get to the top of the crease and battle the puck across the line. I think Freddie Anderson might punch this puck back into his own net here with the blocker. Watch this, pops up in the air. You know, Clune will kind of wax his arm. Watch 16 Clune, and he chops at it right there, and he makes contact with the puck and the blocker of Frederik Andersen. He overpowers Anderson, and that puck ends up in the back of the net.
No, they give the goal to Clune. It would be his second of the season, and just like that, it's 3-2.
If I'm Frederik Andersen, I am screaming, John, that puck, that goal is allowed and is not even reviewed, because Clune clearly slashes the goaltender's blocker, and it has an impact on that puck ending up in the net. I would argue that Freddie Andersen is not allowed to make a play on the puck because of the stick of Richard Clune. But if you don't protest, they're not going to look at it or even talk about it.
Here's Palmieri. at center, trying to get a bouncing puck, and Legwand comes back and knocks it away. They do give the goal to Clune. And it's 3-2 Nashville. The Ducks had tied it, but not for long. And now Getzlaf stretches it to Perry. He's behind the defense. And he scores.
It's a shootout.
First 1-10 wins.
My goodness, Corey Perry sifts this puck through the goaltender Mizanets.
What a tremendous pass by Getzlaf in the neutral zone.
Just unbelievable. And Corey Perry was in full stride. He gets in all alone. Great pass by Getzlaf. And it is in the back of the net. Ekholm did not pick up Corey Perry, and that's inexperience on his part, not being aware of who is on the ice. You can't let Corey Perry, one of the great snipers in the game today, get in behind you. Getzlaf finds him, and we got what a wild game tonight at Bridgestone Arena. We're not used to seeing this.
Not here.
In Ducks and Predators.
So Corey Perry goes 8 games without a goal. Or 7 games, I should say, and he responds with a goal in 3 straight. Getzlaf has figured in all 3 Anaheim goals, as the big line has brought Anaheim back in this one. Tied again at 3. It was 2-0 Nashville after the opening period. And now Lovejoy has to reverse it as he's under duress. Gabriel Bourque all over him. Kicked into the middle of the ice. It comes back to Fowler, and he finds an open Getzlaf. Hard off the stick of Perry. This one will end up in the netting above the high glass back in the Nashville zone. The Ducks score 3 times in the opening 7 minutes of the second period. Brand new game.
I want to go back to that third Nashville goal awarded to Clune. And watch what he does with the stick here and the blocker of Freddie Anderson. I mean, he just essentially slashes the blocker of Anderson, which does not allow Anderson to make a play on the puck. And does he make contact with the puck? Yes. But that is real borderline as to whether or not Anderson was allowed to make a play on a save. Not reviewable. Would have to be called by the officials on the ice. It's a tough call for the on-ice officials because the referee is standing over in the corner, and I don't think he has a real good perspective on that. But Freddie Anderson is a quiet guy, John, but I'll tell you what, he should be screaming murder after a goal like that goes in. Because, first of all, Rich Clune's going to keep doing it. The Predators are going to feel like they have the license to go in there and into that Anaheim goal crease the remainder of this game. And that's not a good thing.
4 goals in the first 7 minutes of the third period between these two teams. As Vatanen holds one in, wants to pull it in, ends up centering it, and it got right to the top of the blue paint before Matt Cullen finally clears the zone.
Do not pass up any opportunities to shoot the puck on Mizanets here. He is struggling. He's shaky, and you almost get the sense. I mean, this has been the problem with the Predators this year, that their goaltending has not been at the same level that they're used to it being at. And so if the Ducks can get that next one in behind Mizanets, you know it will really affect the Nashville players on the bench.
Anderson out to play it behind the net. And Hampus Lindholm finds Koivu. Hard pass off the boards is off the stick of Palmieri right on the Nashville goal. Seth Jones back to get it. Up the wall. The Predators able to come up with it as Stahlberg feeds it ahead. Bourque got a touch, so no icing. Anderson came out, but he won't play it. Francois Beauchemin moves it ahead. Palmieri plays it across. Tipped back, and Gaustad sends it in. Paul Gaustad strides in after it. The 10-year veteran drops it back for Stahlberg. Now behind the net, Lindholm intercepts, wires it around, but Seth Jones is there to hold it in. Lindholm jams it up the wall to the vacant corner on the near side, and Beauchemin plays it off the glass and out.
That's smart play by Beauchemin, and he shows a pretty good touch there.
Great pass by Jones up the middle. Smith for Legwand. Puck to the front of the net, and swinging wildly at it was Smith, who couldn't make contact. Nick Spaulding comes up within the neutral zone ahead for Legwand. Back for Spaulding, who brings it with him, and then off his stick, it comes to Perry. Joined by Bolesky, he'll lob it in.
Yeah, Yossi exits the offensive zone, and that's probably a little bit intimidated by who he's on the ice against with Getzlaf and Perry.
Molesky on the receiving end of a pretty good hit there from Weber. Heads back to the Anaheim bench. Just about to the halfway mark of the hockey game, tied at 3 in Nashville. Getzlaf in full flight says, I'll shoot it. And again, a rebound off the stick of Mazanec. Yeah, you got to feel like the word on the Anaheim bench is get everything to the Nashville net right now.
And go to the net. I mean, get into position to get a hold of a rebound because, boy, they are there.
And here's Solani. He won't pass up the shot, and Yossi gets a stick on that, putting it out of play. Anaheim has 3 goals on 10 shots in the second period.
Back to Bridgestone Arena, tie hockey game at 3-3 here in Nashville. Corey, obviously a light switch went off at that intermission. What was said?
Well, I think we didn't shoot the puck enough in the first period, and we weren't skating, playing our game, and we got back to that, and now we're getting some chances.
Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you.
John?
Face off to the left of Marek Mazanec, who has been busy in this second period. 6th round pick of the Predators in the 2012 draft, taking 179th overall. Mazanec. And he has somewhat taken the net here in Nashville in the absence of Pekka Rinne. Carter Hutton last played 2 games ago against the Carolina Hurricanes. Only gave up 2 goals, Brian, but his head coach was none too pleased with his performance.
I think that the frustration probably got finally to Barry Trotz. As he said, our team is playing well. But they're at 500. They're 7 points back of the Phoenix Coyotes heading into action tonight. This, by the way, game number 2 of a 5-game homestand. So an opportunity for the Predators to make up some ground if they can put together a winning streak. They got it done against the Sharks, a top team from the West. And tonight, an even bigger challenge with the number 1 Ducks in town.
Matt Hendricks has his skate repaired as he tips it into the Anaheim zone. And Matthew Perreault, his former teammate in Washington, plays it back. Batted out of midair. Winnick gets it back and feeds Perreault into the Nashville zone. He finds the trailer. Boschema got it to the net, and again, it looked like there was a rebound for a split second, but Mazanec able to cover it up. You know, Brian, after the game in Boston on Tuesday, the official scores went back and they took an assist away from Ryan Getzlaf. And I think the Nashville Predators are paying the price for that here tonight.
Well, he's shooting the puck, that's for sure. And 22 goals for Getzlaf in 43 games. Career high, by the way, of 25. So he is going to blow that to smithereens this season. We've always said, boy, he can shoot the puck. But he's changed his game a little bit. I mean, Bruce Boudreau has asked him to be less benevolent when he handles the puck and a little bit more selfish at times, and it has paid off.
Boschema steps up behind the net. Winnick trying to reverse, and he's being leaned on by Jones. Excuse me, it was Weber, and this will be an icing call as the Predators clear the hard way. Still a limited supply of holiday packs remaining for Duck fans that you may have missed on your holiday list. You'll get 2 tickets to 3 upcoming games as well as Ducks branded gear, including the neck pillow. Order now at AnaheimDucks.com/holiday pack. Getzlaf steps in to take the draw. He was terrific against Boston. He gets it to Bolesky, whose wraparound is covered by Mazanec. Getzlaf won 69% of the draws he took against Boston, and that play a result of a face-off win.
Yeah, it's another part of his game that he's just, quite frankly, just paying more attention to. But at times in the early stages of Ryan Getzlaf's career, you almost got the feeling that he treated face-offs as much less important than other aspects of the game. And that's not the case now. This is a guy that has really turned himself into, well, an MVP candidate with his play. But in order to get there, you have to tweak your game a little bit. The areas that needed to be addressed and improved upon, he has done that.
3-point night tonight for the captain. He's now got 5 points in his last 3 games and still half a hockey game to go here tonight in Nashville. Koivu trying to go against the grain, and Fisher gives him a bump. Up the wall, Lovejoy pinched, and back come the Preds 3-on-2. Fisher across the line, gets it to the net, and Anderson sticks it away. Jones trying to chop it back in, and Lovejoy clears up the middle. This will be an icing call against Anaheim.
Well, Lovejoy was just trying to get that puck into the middle of the ice. Cogliano had some speed. He just unfortunately could not connect.
Corey Perry has the third Anaheim goal here tonight. It bears pointing out, playing in his 620th game in a Ducks uniform. He's now moved into the number 2 spot all-time in franchise history in games played, trailing, of course, only his teammate, Teemu Solana.
When you think about that stat, the fact that it's Corey Perry and the style of game that he plays.
Yeah.
You know, where he's rarely injured. He takes a beating night after night after night by going to the front of the net. And he's a guy that, you know, is capable and more than willing to play games too when he's much less than 100%.
I was just going to say, you said playing without injury. I think he's been injured a lot in those 620 games. And that's just a testament to Corey Perry, the hockey player. Tied at 3 in Nashville, under 7 to go in the second period. As the Predators try to change in the stretch pass from Beauchemin off the stick of Bolesky. Matt has 2 assists in the game tonight, but he can't keep possession of the puck. Nick Spaulding, that one off of Fowler and changed direction on Anderson.
Yeah, hit him right in the mask, and it looks like there's something wrong with the mask of Freddie Anderson. He's trying to get the attention of the referee.
He gets the whistle now as he checks the headgear. I think Fowler inadvertently got a piece of this bid from Spaulding, as it has appeared to somewhat surprise Anderson.
It got up in a hurry. Yeah, it does. I think it hits the top of Cam's foot and hits him dead square in the mask. And I think Anderson felt that one of the straps had come free.
Yeah. Hit him right in the mind. Ducks win another face-off, this one in the defensive zone, and they're able to clear to center. Bolesky draped along the boards in front of the bench, frees it up, and here's Perry. He had his stick slashed, and the Predators pursue it back into the Anaheim zone. Nice effort there by Lindholm to keep it out, and Perry rags it back to him.
The Predators have dropped back fully into a neutral zone trap a lot here, and especially when the Getzlaf line is on the ice. And you know, it's all designed to take away their speed in the neutral zone and force them to not have possession of the puck as they cross the offensive blue line, because we know what they can do, and they've been dangerous in this game tonight. When they get full control at even strength, they just cycle it, control it, own the boards down low.
Solani rims it around. Maroon gets a piece of it. Bonino keeps it deep. Maroon gets it back, uses that big frame to protect the puck along the wall, and Bonino gives it to him once more. Fisher can't get around Maroon, and Bonino digs it free. Trades places with Solani back behind the net. Pat wants to bring it in front, back to the forehand, put it right through the crease.
Oh, Bonino was there. He just couldn't find it. There were so many bodies he couldn't get a look at it.
Vatanin's shot got through and off the deflection just wide. Maroon uses his long reach to get to the puck. Solani joins him in the corner. Good shift here for Anaheim as Maroon looks to the point. Now throws it through the middle, and that was an airborne pass that Vatanen couldn't bat down. Predators will clear the hard way, and they'll get a break. No, it will not go on goal, so icing is the result.
Yeah, we could see a timeout here from Barry Trotz, because that was a long, exhausting shift down low for the Predators. Here's Patrick Maroon just throwing it into an area, and you see it goes through a mass of legs before finding its way to Nick Bonino, but he cannot get a stick on the cross-ice pass. But real good shift by the Ducks, and as expected, Trotz will take his timeout.
In case you're just joining us, it was 2-0 Nashville as we entered the third period, and the Ducks got off to a flying start here in the middle frame to get back in the game.
Yeah, they were trailing 2-0, remember, entering the second period. Getzlaf scored early, and then the captain said, well, I might as well keep doing that. He scores again to tie it up. The Predators come back on the Clune goal, where he's all over the goaltender, Freddie Anderson. And then Corey Perry says, well, if Getzlaf is going to score, I might as well get in on the fun. And that's the first puck I've seen actually go through the goaltender Mazanec, but he looked shaky to me, John, and this is all about Anaheim just finding a way to get a few more pucks through. We heard about this issue in Nashville. Everyone kept wondering if the Predators were going to make a move and try and pick up a goaltender. Pekka Rinne, by the way, we should say that his issue is not the surgery that he had on his hip. The issue is the post-surgical infection in his hip that has kept him out of the lineup for an extended period. And those are scary. Those infections can come back even once they leave his system to the point where he can get back and play again. I saw him this morning. He was still walking around on crutches.
Perry from behind the net trying to get it back in front, but Josi blocks that. And the cycle continues as Josi able to get inside on Perry, lifts it up the wall, and the Predators back to center. Hendricks gets to the deflected puck in the Anaheim zone from a bad angle. He wires it behind the net, and it'll go all the way back. Anaheim will take the opportunity to change. 4:20 to go, second period. The Ducks out shooting the Preds 13-7 in this period. And we're tied at 3 in Nashville. Anderson reverses it. And Jackman tried to get the shoulder inside on Smith, who whistles it just wide. Anderson, I think, was screened. Legwand keeps it alive. To the line, Jones across for Ekholm. Pair of rookies paired together. Back at the blue line, Jones takes a shot off of Winnick. And Lovejoy gets to the loose puck. He just lobs it out of harm's way, and a bouncing puck that Jones is back to get. Nice pass up the middle to Legwand. 4th overall pick in last summer's draft. Jones showing off a little bit here in the second period. We knew he could skate. He's got 5 points in his last 6 games.
Barry Trotz said today he was asked about Jones, and he said sometimes he looks like an NHL All-Star, and then other times he looks like he's a 19-year-old playing the game. That's going to come, however. He's going to be just a terrific player for a long, long time.
Just turned 19 early in the season as well.
Yeah.
Just 1 year at junior hockey. Came out of the U.S. National Team Development Program and went to Portland to the Western League. Got a delayed penalty coming up here, and this is going to go against the Predators. So Anaheim is going to get another chance on the power play with just under 3 to go here in the second period. Ducks have come from 2 down to tie it up. They'll have an extra man when we return.
There's a good look at Gabriel Bourque. Holding penalty against him. He was all over Ben Lovejoy in the offensive zone and committed the cardinal sin of reaching out, grabbing onto the arm, and that's a pretty obvious call the referee to make. Even on the back, it was the backside referee that had that one.
Predators looking to get Bourque going. He had 11 goals in 34 games a season ago. As I mentioned, he was a scratch here 2 nights ago. Only has 5 goals so far this season already in 38 games. I don't think that's what they had in mind when they were saying they'd like to get him going.
Yeah, I don't understand why the faceoff is in the neutral zone outside the Ducks blue line. I know Anaheim was called for icing the puck.
There was a delayed penalty on the play.
I thought you always started in the offensive zone on the power play.
Oh, great entry. Fowler busts in and rips it wide as Getzlaf hit him in full flight on a wide open left wing. Ducks are 0 for 2 on the power play so far tonight. And brushing it up the far boards is Getzlaf, who brings it right back in on a nice feed from Perry. He gets it all the way across to Bonino. Pulls the trigger. Oh, there was an opening short side. Mazanik able to get the arm up.
A great opportunity, 2 opportunities for the Ducks on the power play. Matt Hendricks falls down, loses an edge, and the Predators defense doesn't pick up the fact that he's not involved in the play, so it's an easy passing lane to hit Cam Fowler with speed. Great pass by Getzlaf. Fowler just hammers this. The goaltender very aggressive out in front of that goal crease, and that shot by Cam Fowler just misses the far post.
Hendricks certainly having a difficult night with his skates. Remember earlier in the period, the blade fell out, and he had trouble just getting back to the bench. Into the slot, Perry. Oh, may have turned away from the shot, and Getzlaf has to take it off the boards. And then Fowler has it dislodged by Fisher. Minute to go in the Anaheim power play as Perry right up the middle into the Predator zone. Lays it off to the wing, and Getzlaf couldn't get to it. Clearing attempt hit Fisher. And then a second opportunity for Weber to ice. Stretch pass to Getzlaf. He's going to shoot again. Oh, and Mazonic. Wow, he was 10 feet outside his goal crease.
A little old school goaltending right there. Getzlaf was alone, so it's a good read by the young goaltender.
Solani lays it off. Getzlaf at the line. Shovels it across. Gets it back. Middle of the ice. Right back. Beauchemin. His pass right through the penalty-killing box. Hop the stick of Perreault as again the ice continuing to give both teams trouble. The puck won't lay flat. Maroon with a great pass, and Solani scores. Teemu Solani on the power play. Anaheim has their first lead of the night.
What a play by Patrick Maroon. This is a nice-looking play overall. First of all, Matthew Perreault did a nice job up high just to get that puck under control. And for Teemu Solani, this is a huge relief to find the back of the net. He's had so many chances as of late. Perreault does a good job, but this pass is just perfect from Patrick Maroon. It's a little backhander that goes through the skates of Klein, and Teemu Solani bangs it into a wide open goal. Great pass and a big smile from Patrick Maroon.
7 points for Solani in his last 10 games now. And yet another power play marker. 253 on the illustrious career of Teemu Solani with the extra man. Josi fans as he's pursued by Cogliano. For the first time tonight, Anaheim has the lead. It's 4-3 as we're inside a minute to go in the second period. And the Anaheim power play, 1 for 3 tonight. Now 5 of their last 9. And Cogliano got a piece of that, so that Weber has to just barely keep it in as opposed to getting a good shooting opportunity. Fowler kicks it loose and bounces back to Weber. Shovels it on the backhand to the corner. Ooh, Smith got a pretty good bump there on Lovejoy, and Anaheim able to clear the zone. Final seconds of the period as Palmieri takes the feed up the wing and into the Nashville zone he goes. Pulls it in. Oh, that partially blocked shot changed direction. Mazonic with a good left pad save.
4 goals in this period for the Ducks, and we said it was going to have to be their goal scoring that got them back into this game, and that's exactly the story of the second period. Ryan Getzlaf got it started with 2 beautiful shots that beat Mazonec, and then it just seemed to energize and elevate the entire bench. And the Ducks were dangerous, and on the other side of the ledger, Nashville really didn't generate much against Freddie Anderson in that second period. They were playing defense the entire middle frame.
The goal scorers come to the fore in the second for the Ducks. Getzlaf with a pair. Perry had one, and Solani on the power play. It's the difference in the game. Through 2, Anaheim has overcome a 2-goal deficit. All rights to this broadcast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, or other use of this broadcast without the express written consent of the Anaheim Ducks is expressly prohibited. A 4-3 lead for Anaheim as they enter the third period here in Nashville after having trailed in this one on a couple of occasions, once by 2 goals, but that's no problem. As Kent French mentioned at the outset of the intermission, this team has plenty of offense to cover up.
More 5-on-5 goals than any other team in the NHL, and we've seen it again tonight. When they get it revved up, they pin teams in their own zone. They make them, I think they just wear them down, and it's one line after the next. I mean, tonight it's been the big line that has done most of the scoring, but the other lines have been playing an awful lot in the offensive zone as well this evening, at least in that second period.
So now it's the Predators trying to come from behind at home after squandering the 2-goal lead. And we're underway in the third. Play into the Nashville zone. And brought right back. Roman Josi can't get his pass through, and Matt Bolesky dumps it in. Marek Mazonic, native of the Czech Republic, out to rim it around and out, and this one gets away from Lindholm, and he's pursued back into his own zone. Nick Spaulding spins it down low. Beauchemin moves it quickly and gets off with the great outlet. Lindholm just misses Bolesky cross ice, and they wave the icing. Josi turns it over. Koivu keeps it alive. Now it's Legwand, the lifetime Predator, now in his 15th season, all as a Nashville Predator, David Legwand. And he heads to the bench. Koivu throws it into the middle, and I think they're going to call the Preds for too many men on the ice here. Ekholm had just come over the boards. There was a Nashville player I looked up, I thought was halfway on the bench, but as soon as Ekholm played the puck.
I think they're going to talk about this, and we might not get a penalty here.
Let's see.
Nashville bench minor, too many men on the ice.
Yeah, they're going to call it. It was close, John. I agree with you. I was surprised when I heard the whistle go. I've seen a lot of times where there's a little bit closer play at the bench. David Legwand's top of your screen. You see the player, he's already got one leg on the boards as the defenseman who had jumped on the puck had handled it immediately, Ekholm. And you know what? It was Saku Koivu who threw that puck at Ekholm. And I think that was done intentionally to see if he could get the call. That was close.
Well, I know it's one of your favorites, but the linesman made the call as well on it, Brian. The backside linesman, I'm sure that's part of Barry Trotz's displeasure with the call as well. So Anaheim back on the power play, and Freddie Anderson races out to play a puck. They're 1 for 3 tonight and a chance to extend their lead early in the third. Perreault, who assisted on the power play goal with Solani, brings it into the zone. Hands it off. Vatanen gave it back, and Beauchemin's shot went just wide. Perreault recovers possession. Back to the line. Vatanen curls with it. Pressured along the wall by Nystrom. And then knocked down as he tries to keep it alive along the base of the dasher. Maroon sends it around. And all the way from the point, Beauchemin to the corner, keeps it alive. Maroon got a stick on it. Shea Weber battles it out.
You know, the other thing that Anaheim getting these power plays does, and I mentioned that Shea Weber has not been a huge factor on the rush, is that Trotz is being forced to use him a lot in these penalty killing situations, and also something that kills a lot of his energy for the rest of the game. Remember, Weber's a guy that plays, on average, almost 27 minutes a night. And if you're killing penalties, any defenseman will tell you those are the really tough minutes.
And it's twofold because he's such a big part of their offense. He's their leading scorer, one of only 4 defensemen in the league that leads his team. As Fowler's pass to the far post got to Perry, and his redirect just missed.
That was a nice looking play. That puck was just a hair ahead of Corey Perry. Fowler had to put it there because we had to put that much pace on the puck to get it all the way across. There was a defender pretty close to him.
Stallberg serving the bench minor out of the box. Nashville full strength. Bonino was wide open, and Bolesky's pass a little behind him. Penalty is over. The Predators full strength. And 3 abreast into the Anaheim zone. Yossi pulled down, and a penalty coming up to Anaheim. That's a slashing call. And is it going to go against Cam Fowler?
No, it's going to be Francois Beauchemin. And no hesitation. I think a little bit of uncertainty here between both Beauchemin and Fowler as to who was going to pressure the puck carrier Yossi. Fowler couldn't because he had Craig Smith right on his hip. And I think if you asked Francois, he read that play a little bit differently. He thought Cam Fowler, I believe, was going to pressure the puck carrier, and then he got caught a little flat-footed as a result.
Nashville with their second power play opportunity of the game. 0 for 1, over 20% on the season with the extra man, 6th in the league. Ellis across for Jones. Ryan Ellis, one motion, fires. It never got to the net, knocked down in front, and then Ellis blocks the clearing attempt. Matt Cullen works the wall. Jones again, back for Cullen. The Virginia, Minnesota native gives it to Jones. Ellis right back. Ryan Ellis tipped by Smith. Still loose in the blue paint. When it comes over, Cullen chops it free. Jones again for Smith. Yet to see Shea Weber on this power play as Ellis's drive bounces off of Anderson, and the rebound chipped just wide by Smith.
Yeah, Ducks need a whistle. Penalty killers gassed.
Jones' pass is deflected, but Ellis gets it off the boards. Down low for Colin Wilson, and that goes right through him. And the Ducks will Try to clear, and a diving effort keeps it in.
What a play.
By Ellis. Boy, he's kept a couple pucks in. Wilson gets it down low, and Anderson covers up.
What a great athletic play by the defenseman Ellis at the blue line, and the crowd is loving that. The Ducks finally get their whistle, but here's the play, and he knocks it down with his hands, so he has to touch it with his stick before Seth Jones can put a touch on it, or else the whistle would have blown immediately. But
two-time OHL Defenseman of the Year and one-time Canadian Junior Hockey Defenseman of the Year, showing why. As Ellis with some great work along the blue line. Yossi for Weber, hammered it. Oh, it trickled through Anderson and came out on the near side. Fistrix clearing a temporal right back to Lindholm, who ices.
There's that shot from Shea Weber that we haven't seen much of in this game. And the reason why he's got 7 power play goals, it just overpowers goaltenders. That puck went through Freddie Anderson. We're going to get a better look at it now. But Shea Weber comes within inches of tying this game up. Here's the one-timer. He hammers it. Goes through the goaltender. Watch where it pops out. Right through the wickets of Freddie Anderson and out the other side. But what a break for the Ducks.
And as I mentioned earlier, he's such a big part of their offense here in Nashville. Not only their leading scorer, but coming into tonight, he had assisted on 5 of the last 6 Nashville goals scored. So he's the leader in so many ways for this hockey club. And now he's at the line. The penalty is over. Beauchemin comes out of the box. And Anaheim full strength. Now 2 for 2 on the kill tonight of the Ducks, who lead 4-3 in Nashville. Weber gets it into the middle of the ice. Fisher's shot off a skate to the corner. And around it comes back for Weber. The Nashville captain serves it down low. On his way to his second straight Olympics, Weber pinches and knocked it away from Cogliano. Lindholm lobs it to the line. Again, not out. Boy, the Ducks have had a couple of clearing attempts in this third period that didn't get out, and so far it hasn't burned them. Jones brings it back in, and Getzlaf steps into him.
Got away with a trip. Getzlaf on that play.
Lindholm gets it over to the captain. Bolesky trails the play, fires, goes after his own rebound, and it just bounces away as Mazonic made the save. Lovejoy fires it back in as the Ducks touch up. Bolesky wasn't sure if he had touched up, so he went back and did it a second time. Now Fowler steps into the neutral zone, and Lovejoy comes up with a loose puck. 13:35 to go, third period in Nashville. Anaheim riding a 4-game winning streak and winners of 14 of their last 15, leading the Predators 4-3. Perry gets to the puck, dumped in by Getzlaf. Looks across and can't get his pass through. Fistrick comes up with it in the neutral zone and brings it back in. Hit by Kevin Klein, and the puck picked up behind the net by Ellis, who lobs it back out of harm's way.
You're going to see a lot of Ellis in this period, as Barry Trotz is going to want to add that 4th attack man into the play.
Perreault gains the line, drops it back. Beauchemin does a good job to keep it in. It comes right to Solani. Goes to the high slot, fires. Deflected by Klein just wide.
Well, he didn't miss by much.
Teemu gets it back from Perreault, tries to feather it to the line, and Lindholm has to retreat defensively. Cullen uses the glass to get it into the Anaheim zone. Anderson stops it for Lindholm. He keeps going with Nashville changing. The ice opens in front of him. Coast to coast into the Nashville zone, takes the shot. It's blocked to the corner. He goes and gets it. It was Weber who got a piece of it, and then Weber moves it for Yossi. Fisher gets it ahead. Here's Wilson with a drive, gobbled up by Anderson, who holds on. 12:15 left in Nashville. The Ducks with a 1-goal lead.
It did not look to me that Pekka Rinne is going to be returning to the lineup anytime soon. As I mentioned, I saw him this morning. He's still walking around with 2 canes, actually. So the 2-time Vezina Trophy finalist still sorely missed by the Predators. And in his absence, you got to rely on, option B and option C. And option B and C just haven't been enough for the Preds to get into a playoff spot this year.
Face off. to the left of Anderson in the Anaheim zone. Gave up 2 goals in the first 2.5 minutes of this one and has steadied since as the Ducks have come back and lead it 4-3 here in Music City. Anaheim's been good in the face-off circle tonight. Saku Koivu, 57% in his last 6 games on the face-off dot, and he won that one. Clune can't jam it through neutral ice, and here's Cogliano. Tries to go wide on Ekholm. Takes it off the back of the net. For Fowler at the line, he'll walk it into the middle, makes a pass over that explodes off Koivu's stick and goes out of play.
Yeah, Cam Fowler is about to slam his stick on the ice. He just couldn't have that pass sit flat for Koivu. You can see that Koivu knows that he was wide open, would have had an opportunity to one-time the puck. And Cam says, sorry, just didn't get the pass to sit flat. And so a scoring chance goes for naught.
As a result, the faceoff comes out of the zone, and another faceoff win for the Ducks, but Anderson has to come back and play it. Lindholm with a nice reversal off the boards, and Bushma moves it up the near side. Getzlaf gets center red, chips it in. Perry bumping with Yossi to the corner after it. Corey Perry cycles it. Bolesky gets to it behind the net, hits the brakes, brings it to the front on the backhand, and Mazonic stayed with him. Perry, the third guy high, able to keep the puck in the zone. And then again, the cycle gets started. Getzlaf looking for Perry, but off his stick, and the Preds the other way. Smith drop pass, broken up. I think Perry was calling for that puck as Smith just gave it right to him. Long shot from center, handled by Mazonic, who's way out to play it, and he continues on. Everybody else on the ice thought he was going to hold for the whistle, including some of his teammates. Anderson drops one and tries to kick it away. Vatanen gets to it and clears up the wall and out. Klein sends it back in, and Anderson kicks it aside for Mark Fistrick.
Little things like you see Mark Fistrick, that puck comes to him, he moves it up the ice immediately.
Cullen finds the trailer Stahlberg off his stick, and Fowler just taps it away. Bork battling for it. It comes to Solani, and he finds the seam. It's Fowler joining the rush. He'll dump it in. Perreault with speed after it to the corner. Fended off behind the net, but Winnick picks up the puck. Angles it back for Lovejoy. Wires it wide. That was the only shooting lane he had. And a penalty coming up to the Ducks. I think it's going to be a high stick here. I think it's Matthew Perreault.
You know, you could see the Nashville defender Ryan Ellis go over, and I think he's trying to sell more than just a 2-minute minor penalty against Perreault.
Is he biting his lip?
Well,
trying to draw a little blood.
We'll hear what the call is. No indication yet. It's a little bit of a cross-check. Both sticks were up high. Perreault catches him on the chin. It's a 2-minute minor penalty against him for high sticking. And so this is a big kill, obviously, for the Ducks. Halfway through the third period, Anaheim still protecting the 1-goal lead.
Third power play of the night, and right off the draw, boy. Yossi with a golden opportunity and a good blocker save by Anderson.
That was a great stop.
Legwand from behind the net. Feeds it to the line for Yossi. Right back for Legwand. He curls into the middle, fires, and that's off a leg and wide. Weber pursues it on the far boards. Winnick takes it away. Here he is, shorthanded breakaway for Daniel Winnick. He's in, pad save, got his own rebound.
What a stop. That is just an enormous save by Mazonic. That goes in, this game's over.
9.5 to go as Weber strides back into the Anaheim zone, lays it off for Fisher. Mike Fisher trickles it down low. Legwand has it. Back to the line and around for Weber. No shooting lane for him as Koivu in his grill. Forces him to the boards. Touch pass, and Weber gets it over. Yossi's shot blocked. It comes right to the goal mouth. Anderson made the save, and it's battled away by Cogliano.
Yeah, good job by Frederik Andersen there. There were a couple of Nashville forwards surrounding his goal crease, battling for possession, and he just kind of hung in there.
45 seconds remains, and the man advantage for the Preds. Jones hands it off. Cullen releases on the puck, brings it in, and a glove save by Anderson will bring a face-off.
Well, all of a sudden, the goaltenders are center stage in this game. Here was the stop by Anderson on Josi right off of the faceoff, and he just gets a little piece of it with the right leg pad. And then Daniel Winnick steals a puck away from Shea Weber. He's in alone. And it's a right leg pad save by the goaltender, Mazanis.
So the face-off to the right of Anderson. 39 seconds left in the penalty to Perreault. And the Preds win another draw. Jones for Ellis, who touches it over. Wrist shot blocked as Fowler got in the way of that one. Wilson digs it back to the line. Ellis again, and a glove save by Anderson, as curling off the boards was Craig Smith.
Yeah, no net front presence there for the Predators, so no problem as a result for the goaltender, Freddie Anderson. And that's a shot that Craig Smith probably wishes he had not taken. They do get an offensive zone faceoff, still 24 seconds remaining on the Preds power play.
Matt Cullen, one of the top 10 faceoff men in the league, to oppose Koivu, and Cullen wins it. Predators move it to Jones. He wastes no time, just tees it up. It bounces back to Ellis. Smith fires. That's blocked. Fowler with a couple of big shot blocks here on this penalty kill. Lovejoy battling forward in the corner. The Predators win it and get it around to Jones. Cullen quickly into the middle. Smith's shot blocked again. And I think it was Fowler again. The penalty is over to Perreault. He's out of the box. The Ducks full strength. He takes it up the wall and jams it out center ice again. Winnick brings it with him into the Nashville zone. Knocked to his knees. He gets back up, hooks it across, and Getzlaf off the Anaheim bench keeps it deep. Anaheim 3 for 3 on the penalty kill tonight. Part of the reason they still hold a 1-goal lead tonight in Nashville as the game clock winds to 7:40.
The penalty killing has picked it up as well. In fact, the Ducks now 18th in the NHL, so they're approaching the top half on the penalty kill. It's been a long climb for that group from the beginning of the season, John.
Slow start they had. Now, one would think you'll see a lot of number 6 Shea Weber out there for the Predators the rest of the way as he handles the puck. And up the wing with speed is Stahlberg. Bad angle shot went off the side of the Anaheim net. Bork gets it back but can't feed it through Beauchemin. Lindholm on the backhand, trying to work it up the wall for Perry. It comes back around, and Beauchemin will clear the hard way. This will be an icing call against the Ducks.
No fooling around for Francois Beauchemin with some pressure coming from Nashville. Makes the save play, uses the glass, and he'll take the icing. And you mentioned teams are a little bit more comfortable taking those icings. Bruce Boudreau is going to call a timeout, looks out at his players and sees that a couple of them are kind of bent over with their sticks on their knees. That's an indication that they're tired. And he does not want to give up an offensive or a goal off of an offensive zone faceoff just because your players are fatigued.
You know, you talked a lot about Shea Weber not being able to join the rush. In the win against San Jose here 2 nights ago, Barry Trotz's team had 28 shots on goal. 17 of those came from the defense. And the defense has been so strong for so long here in Nashville, and it's such a big part of their offense as well, with the likes of Josi and Weber. Anaheim's ability to make them kill penalties tonight, to play in their own zone, has really hindered their offense at the other end. Anytime you're getting over 50% of your shots from the blue line.
See Shea Weber, and he was talking with the youngster Seth Jones. Both played the right side. Earlier this season, Shea Weber was teamed with Jones for a little while, but Jones was actually moved over to the opposite side. And we've heard about that a lot from different coaches, how a left-handed shooting defenseman is so much more effective when he plays the left side compared to the right side.
Face-off win, sets up Josi, and he missed the mark.
Boy, what an opportunity. He had so much time and space. And the Ducks so focused on Weber, perhaps, that Yoshi's been left open a couple of times.
Well, coming into this third period, Nashville had only 4 shots on goal of their 14 in the game from their blue line. Josi has been more active in this third period, and we expect Weber to be as the game goes on. Delayed offside on the play here as Anderson recognized that the linesman had his arm up. Play was offside all the way. I don't know that the crowd understood that. Still 4-3. Time to pop the cap on Miller Time. Brought to you by Miller Lite. A big night for the captain.
It certainly has been a pair of goals and assists for Ryan Getzlaf tonight. His ability to make plays, too, and find Corey Perry never ceases to amaze me. Getzlaf, here's a look at his night thus far. There's still plenty of time left. 6:21 remaining in this one. He's almost played almost 20 minutes, so he's going to be around the 22-23 minute mark when this is done.
He has been nails in the face-off circle as well. Part of the reason he'll play a lot down the stretch. Here's a chance for Wilson, who turns back to the forehand. Anderson never left the post, though. And the puck ends up behind the goal. That hit the referee on the clearing attempt by Bonino.
He hit him twice.
Maroon fails to get it out, and now Bonino loses it. Lovejoy uses the glass, and Wilson holds it in. No, he did not.
The referee that time got hit twice by the puck in about 6-7 seconds. It's a good look at Wilson. Wilson, a pretty nice looking player for the Predators. Got 7 goals this season. His dad, Gary Wilson, similar type of player. Very strong on the puck. Smart, heady player.
Now he's the plus-minus leader. No surprise there for the Predators coming into tonight. At +4, it's been a difficult year at even strength for the Preds as a team. But not so for Wilson. This one bounces away from Jones, and it's Cogliano into the Nashville zone. Gets it to the front of the net. Oh, and Koivu just couldn't get his stick free for the redirect. A good-looking play there by Andrew Cogliano, who's riding a 4-game scoring streak coming into tonight. Up the glass and back. Oh, and here's Gausted, who's in, and he hits the side of the net. Oh, he had Anderson down and out, but he was in too deep. Winnick the other way for the Ducks. Protects the puck into the middle for Lindholm. And he does the smart thing, puts it up on the dasher and around. Winnick recovers in the corner, finds the open man. Beauchemin with a drive. Oh, that got through, went just wide. Lindholm keeps it alive for Cogliano. Behind the Nashville goal, knocked off his stick. Getzlaf from his prone position trying to hook that one on net as he was knocked down. Under 5 to play as Anaheim gets it back in again. And that's off the stick of Jones and into the netting. Over the glass and out of play. Buckle your seatbelts. Under 5 to play in a 1-goal game.
Well, Paul Gaustad is the beneficiary of a blown tire here by Francois Beauchemin. He falls, and Gaustad gets to that loose puck. He had the goaltender Anderson down, swimming, and out of it. Now watch this puck. It's rolling, never settles down. And as he's about to flip it up into the top of the net, it just kind of rolls off the toe of his stick. We've seen that a lot tonight, John, where the puck just doesn't want to sit flat for players.
Well, this building, Bridgestone Arena, is very busy. There was an event here last night as the Ducks had to practice at the Predators practice facility yesterday when they arrived in Nashville. So perhaps the condition of the ice becoming a factor.
Well, the other thing that happened today, which is a little bit strange, is that the Ottawa Senators are in town. They practiced on this ice surface at 1 o'clock this afternoon. So, I mean, I was a little bit surprised. I had a couple of the Senators personnel say to me, I'm surprised they're allowing us to practice here at Bridgestone and not making us go out to the practice facility. So,
yeah, 3 different NHL teams practice here today after the compulsory morning skates for the 2 teams playing in this one here tonight. The Senators don't play till Saturday here in Nashville. In what will be game 3 of this 5-game homestand for Nashville, the Ducks will go from here to Phoenix where they play Saturday night. Bonino gets it off the wall, rink wide for Cogliano. Back in front looking for Koivu and tipped away at the last moment by Jones.
Saku Koivu has been close a number of times tonight.
Winnick broke his stick, goes to the bench to get a new one. And Clune bumping with Beauchemin in behind the net. And now Koivu keeps Clune to the outside. Clune has one of the 3 Nashville goals tonight. Behind the net. And trying to bring it in front was Spalling, but it rolled off his stick.
A little poke check, I believe, by Freddie Anderson. Used the goal stick effectively there.
Lindholm changes direction, finds a little open ice, and Winnick sweeps it out center. Predators starting to push back here as the clock starting to become an enemy for Nashville. Over 3 minutes still left. And that puck touched by an Anaheim high stick. That's the reason Perreault won't touch it, as Weber moves it behind the net and Josi returns the favor. Shots 28-24 in the game in favor of Anaheim. The Ducks lead 4-3. Now under 3 to play. Stahlberg pokes it into the Anaheim zone. Fowler reverses and Lovejoy settles it. He'll use the glass. And it'll bounce the length of the ice and be an icing call.
A little bit unlucky for Ben Lovejoy. I mean, he flipped that puck off the glass when it landed. The puck kind of landed funny on its edge and just took off. So offensive zone face-off coming up. Lovejoy goes back and gives his goaltender a whack on the pads and said, sorry about that. Players want to continue to keep the puck in motion when you're defending a lead.
Remember, both teams have used their timeouts previously in this game after icing calls, and Perreault wins the draw. The top face-off man for the Ducks able to work it up to the corner, and Solani clears the zone. Jones for Ellis. His pass tipped deep into the Anaheim zone. No icing. Lovejoy puts it up on the glass and around. Perry got a touch on it. Everybody seems to get a touch on it as it pinballs out to the neutral zone.
Just battling it out of the zone at this point are the Ducks.
Predators hammer it around and in. Again off the deflection. No icing. Fowler in the corner. Tried to keep it in his skates, and a nice read by Perry, who gets into the passing lane to break it up and then weaves into the Nashville zone to Getzlaf. Tries to get it back for Perry. Knocked away by Josi. And Bolesky thinks better of pursuing the puck as he stays beat.
And Perry
stays back.
Perry back to the bench. The Ducks get some fresh players on the ice.
Anderson gets a stick on it for Lindholm. Getzlaf goes rink wide, just out of the reach of Cogliano. We'll keep an eye now on Mazanec as he creeps out. Here's Wilson, and he fires it high. To the bench goes Mazanec. The extra man on for Nashville. The net is empty at the other end. Minute 20 to go. Fisher gets it in front. Anderson makes the save, point blank on Cullen. Cullen runs it down to the corner. Cogliano comes away with it. Feeds it ahead. Here's Getzlaf. And he tries to give it back to Cogliano. Maybe a little too benevolent was the captain there. And now he gets a stick on it out center. Didn't want to shoot at the empty net. The Predators are offside as they bring it back in with just under a minute to go. I don't think Getzlaf, Brian, wanted to shoot at the empty net for fear of missing and perhaps another icing call. As Clune and Winnick separated.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Clune was thinking there, but he almost took a penalty at the worst possible time. I mean, Trotz wants Clune to go to the front of the net and initiate contact with the Anaheim defenseman. That's his role in a situation like this, and now he thinks better of that and gets Clune off the ice.
A very slow line change from Barry Trotz there, buying a little time as the puck dumped in and Anderson out to play it. The net is still empty at the other end. Nashville with 6 attackers, and Winnick uses the boards, and it'll go the length of the ice and wide of the net, so icing is the call. 43.7 seconds left.
Well, the Ducks are really testing that theory about willingness to take defensive zone faceoffs here in the late stages of the game. Freddie Anderson is back there. He's thinking he's probably got to come up with 1 or 2 more in order to get the W tonight.
Faceoff will be to his left. Cullen steps in to oppose Koivu. They kick at it as it lays on the dot. Fowler jamming it up the wall. It comes into the middle. A diving effort by Winnick. Bounces it to the line. Not out. Smith turns. Fires high. Around the glass it comes. Winnick takes a swat at it. Weber holds it in, and Koivu muscles it out. Won't go far enough for icing. Clock winds. 23 seconds left. Weber fires it in right on goal. Anderson gloves it away, and it's golfed the length of the ice by Beauchemin. This will be an icing call as Perry fences with Weber on the way back.
And the linesmen, remember, make that determination at the point that the players get to the hash marks. Getzlaf is arguing that this definitely should not have been an icing call. He's also arguing that Shea Weber could have been called for interference.
The captain very vocal. 10.6 seconds left. The fans come to their feet, face off to the right of Anderson, and the Ducks clear. It'll roll the length of the ice off a deflection, no icing, and that should do it. As Weber's back to get it, he'll turn and fire the length of the ice as the net is off behind Anderson, and the game is over. Well, that was a strange ending to what was a strange game in Nashville, at least for 2 periods, and then it settled in a little bit in the third, and the Ducks win their 5th straight, and they now are 7-1-1 in their last 9 on the road as they come from 2 down to win in Nashville 4-3.
The big line was the star of this one. Matt Bolesky had a whale of a game, as did Corey Perry. But Ryan Getzlaf, a dominant performance again by the captain Getzlaf. The Ducks, a slow start once again. They trail by 2, but it is remarkable the ability for this team to come from behind. It's all about offense, John. They can just light you up. Highest scoring team at even strength in the NHL gets it done once again.
They've won 15 of 16. They're 25 games over 500, have 71 points on the season. They win tonight in Nashville 4-3. Ducks Live is next.